In today's video, we're taking a look at how to install or replace a ceiling fan easy and simple. This is so easy, anyone could do. Everything that we used on the video, we're gonna leave a link on the description. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. That does help us out a lot, thank you. So you woke up today and you feel the sweat on your skin. Summer's coming and you either wanna replace that old fan or you wanna install a new one. Don't worry, here at the StatUpBox team, we've got your back. And these are the things that we get in the box. The first thing that we get is barbecue paper. I mean, the owner's manual. And we usually tend to throw this one away, but because there's more than 3 pieces on this particular item, we're keeping it. And here we have the rest of the pieces, like the canopy cover, the blades, the glass bulbs, the lights, screws, more screws, and other screws. Now that we gave you a very detailed rundown of all the pieces we have, we're ready to start working. And we do that by saying that the first thing that you want on a clear sunny day is not to die. And we do that by contacting a licensed professional to do the professional job. Because remember, safety is the #1 thing. And no matter if you're installing or replacing a fan, the technique is the same. Here on our first example, we're gonna start from a light bulb. And the first thing that we wanna do is make sure that we turn off the breaker for that particular light bulb, because we don't want magical powers that way. We leave that to Spider-Man. We go ahead and remove the bulb, and using our non-contact voltage detector, we're gonna verify that there's no electricity on our working area. Now that no magical powers are going to be gained on this episode, we could start unscrewing. And we do that, and in this case, the only thing that we have to do is loosen the screws, and then we can twist the base off. And you're going to need these screws for the installation of the fan. Whichever of the two, the technique is the same. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. And remember, a pro tip is always good to save the screws. Because if you start with a certain amount of screws, you should end with a certain amount of screws. We pull down the base and reconfirm that there's no electricity in the connection. Now that we measure twice, cut once, so depending if your connection is connected by caps or screws, we're gonna go ahead and remove those. In our case, it's screws. If in your case are caps, then you wanna go ahead and twist off. As you can see, we have 3 wires, the hot wire, the non-hot wire, and the ground wire. So no matter which installation or replacement you're doing, this is our starting point with everything removed. But let's say you're replacing a fan, the first thing that we want to do is turn off the magical power button, and that would be the breaker that turns off the electricity for this particular connection. And then in your case, just like ours, it does have a glass bulb, we're gonna go ahead and remove that. And you're gonna notice usually around 2 to 3 screws all around the base holder of the glass globe. In some cases, you can twist this off using your hands. In some, you would need a screwdriver. And basically what you wanna do is loosen each and one of them using the ping pong method, loosening a little bit on one, then the next one, and then the next one, until finally the globe is no more. And always remember to have caution, because once you loosen all the screws, that globe is falling. So placing a hand on it or having a helper like Watson, it's a good idea. Now we can go ahead and remove the bulb, and remember to save it. You never know if you need it down the line. Now we're ready to move on to the next step, and that's removing the wing from the Batmobile. As you can see, each blade has 2 screws that hold it onto place. We want to go ahead and remove that, and remembering using the technique lefty loosey, righty tighty. And just like before, if we don't want any surprises falling from the top to your head, we want to hold on to each blade as we loosen. And remember, saving the screws is never a bad thing. You never know with inflation where screw prices are going. Once we remove one, we can go ahead and do the same for the rest. Now that that bird is not gonna fly, we're ready for the next step. And we're basically gonna remove the beauty cover for the motor. You're gonna notice a screw on one of the sides. In some cases, you have to fully remove the screws. On some other cases, just by loosening it, you're able to remove the cover. In some, you can pull straight down. In some, you twist to remove. And to avoid the smell of barbecue meat, we want to make sure that there's no electricity in the connection. And for that, we use the non-contact voltage detector. Now that we verify that, all systems are go. We're gonna go ahead and remove the 4 screws that hold the plate that holds the motor up on the ceiling. And no matter if you have one of these fans or a different type of fan, the technique is gonna be the same. You keep on screwing until you finish. Either today or tomorrow, that fan is coming down. This particular plate has 4 screws. We're gonna use the technique lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, saving the screws to later sell as assets and create immense wealth later on in life. Now that all the screws are removed, basically we're gonna push the plate up, push to one side, and doing a little wiggle dance, we pull down and remove. Now that you showed the world your dancing skills, we're ready for the next step. And this is where we disconnect the connections that used to give power to this fan. This is where having a helper or a Watson to hold the fan, meanwhile you disconnect the wires, is a good idea. In your case, they might be connected using electrical tape or caps. We want to go ahead and remove those. And as a general rule of thumb, we don't want the wires to touch each other. And before you disconnect the wires, you can make sure which one is the live wire and which is not. You can either throw a picture, you can write it down, you can use your powerful memory. And now we're ready to remove the last plate. And this is the home plate, where the home runs are made, or in some cases, the strikeouts. No matter what walks you take in life, we're basically gonna go ahead and remove it. If you remember the light bulb, before we had screws. On this one, we have nuts. You can use a wrench, some pliers, you can use your beautiful strong hands. Whichever technique you use is up to you. And we do want to save the bolts and nuts because we're going to need them for the installation if your particular fan does not bring the additional ones. So now you can pat yourself on the back for removing that fan. Now you're back to the starting line. You can take a break and have yourself a ice cold, bubbly, liquid gold sparkling water. And the first thing that we're gonna get is the canopy or cover. And on this particular one, the mounting bracket is connected to it. So what we're gonna do is disconnect it. And we basically have 4 screws, 2 on each side. One of them we only loosen and the other one we remove completely. And we repeat that to the other side as well. Always remember to save the screws for later on. Now we're gonna go ahead and take our mounting bracket and take it to the ceiling. We're basically gonna put it where our last one was. We're even gonna use the same screws left on the electrical box. And using the same nuts, we're gonna twist them on. If in your case it has screws, then you would screw them on. And remember, we wanna use the technique of righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And another thing that we wanna make sure that it is tight, because remember, this is what's gonna hold the weight from the fan. And even though fans don't weigh as much as before, the last thing you want is a flying fan in your household, or your friend, roommate, spouse, significant other giving you that look. Now going back to our box of fan parts, we're gonna get what's called the down rod. And no, I know what you're thinking. And the down rod is gonna have a pin and a clip. We're gonna go ahead and remove both. In some cases, you might need a needle nose plier or some regular pliers to remove the clip. Now we're gonna get our canopy or cover and insert the down rod through the cover or canopy hole, having the ball on the inside part. And now that this video took a turn for its worst, let's be serious now and get back to work. Now we go back to the box with the fan parts and get the motor. And you're gonna notice that at the start of this motor is gonna be the receiving end for the part we just built. And to be able to insert the down rod to this hole, we're gonna have to loosen 2 screws to be able to do that, but not remove. The first thing that we wanna do is take the wires and pass them through the inside of the down rod. And now that this video went to adults only, now we're ready to insert the down rod in its place. And what we do now, we get the pin and clip from before, and we're basically gonna insert it back again, align the holes on the down rod to the motor insert, pass it through, and end it by placing the clip on the other side. This is basically gonna secure your fan from not falling from the ceiling. And to help for that not to happen, we're gonna go ahead and tighten the screws that we loosened before. And we wanna make sure that they are tight. And now that we got a master class on how babies are made, we're ready for the next step. We're gonna go ahead and build each wing. We're gonna take the blade arm, the screws, the washers, and the blade, and create one piece. What you wanna make sure is that the arm is facing the correct way. And also you wanna make sure what color, if in your case the blade has two colors, faces down and which up. In our case, we like the part with the grain, so that's the one that's gonna face down. You can always verify with your owner's manual, I mean barbecue paper, I mean toilet paper, I mean, you know what I mean, to verify which way the arm is supposed to go. And what we're basically gonna do, we're gonna take our screws and provided caps, which screw on to the screws, have a washer in between both, and using the ancient technique of righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, we go ahead and tight. And we wanna make sure that it is tight. These are one of the things that can fly off and create memorable moments in a lifetime. And we can go ahead and repeat this for the rest of the wings or blade. Now, depending on your particular fan is how you're gonna install the blades. In this particular fan, the blades go in between the motor housing and the light housing. So it's like a tuck away hitting, more nicer to the eye, but more difficult to install situation. But don't worry, here at the StatUpBox team, we've got your back. 6 to 12 feet away, but we do. What you're gonna notice that the light housing turns and has an entry point at the bottom, which you align with the screws that you're gonna remove, and preferably, as the manual says, using a magnetic screwdriver, you're gonna go ahead and remove the two screws where the blades are gonna go. But if your blades are like the fan we did before, your installation is going to be a lot easier. And installing the blades before or after, that's a personal preference. We like to install it before we take it up there, but depending on the size of your blades, the bigger they are, the harder it is to install the fan in the ceiling, having the blades in the way. In this particular fan, the blades are smaller, so we would have enough space to do both. For that reason, we choose to install them before. In your case, you could install them after. At the end of the day, you are the king, queen, both or none of your castle. You're gonna notice a rubber gasket, and we're gonna go ahead and leave that one there. If yours are in the fan box, we wanna go ahead and get those now and place them on the motor housing. We go ahead and place our blade arm, and next we go ahead and screw the screws. Always remember righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, and we wanna make sure that they are tight. Unless you want this to go from a DIY project to a full-on attack. Now you're almost done, Grasshopper. You can pat yourself on the back once again. If you feel like taking a break, you deserve it. You don't need those magical powers that come with electricity. You're awesome just like you are. Now, if we go back to the mounting bracket on the ceiling, we're gonna notice a little tab that coincides with a line on the down rod. And what we basically wanna do is align both in place, because this is what's gonna prevent your fan from spinning and spinning on the ceiling until it becomes a projectile. And then having your friend, roommate, family member, or spouse giving you that look that seems that they don't want you to live here no more. So go ahead and make peace with that loved one, at least for a few minutes. Wink wink. We go ahead and lift the fan and insert it on the mounting bracket, making sure that it is aligned, and make sure that the down rod is safely positioned in the mounting bracket. And now we finally ended the hard parts. Now come the easier ones. We're gonna finally start making connections to make this fan work. In this particular fan, on the mounting bracket, we have a green wire, which is the ground, and also on the down rod, we have a green wire. So those we're gonna connect together. If in your case, you wanna make the connection to the ground wire coming to the electrical box, you may as well. And in this case, we're gonna use the twist caps provided on the kit. And let's say you don't remember which is the live wire and which is not. First, First, you want to make sure that the wires are not touching each other. Then you can turn on the breaker and using your non-contact voltage detector, verify which wire is live. Then turn off your breaker, recheck again that there's no electricity on the wire, and now know which one is the live wire. And depending on your fan, which wires you need to connect. In our case, we need the black and blue wire connected to the live wire. And this is because one is for the motor and the other one is for the light. We go ahead and take our twist cap and twist it on and make all three one connection. And now we have the last wire, which is the non-live wire. And that one, in our particular case, according to the owner's manual, we connect to the white one. We take a cap and twist it on and make one solid connection. Remember to always tug at each connection to make sure that it's safely and correctly connected. And in our case, we're gonna add electrical tape to make sure that the connections don't go anywhere. This would all depend again on your location, code, regulations, state, counties, laws, rules, and other that apply. We go ahead and tuck all the wires in the electrical box on the ceiling to make space to slide up our canopy or cover. We're gonna push up and slide to the side. That's gonna make the cover go in the screw that we left loose. We go ahead and place the other screw and tighten down the other one. We repeat the same thing on the other side. And now comes one of the most important parts of the video. Let it be light. We're gonna go ahead and place the light bulbs, and in this case they were included on the kit. We place our glass bulb, remembering using the ping pong method of tightening down little by little each screw, in this case 3, until the glass bulb feels like it's not going anywhere. And remember, you don't want to over tighten this part because you don't want to crack the glass. Because like many things in life, after 95% done, you don't want to mess it up at the end. If your particular fan has 2 pull chains like this one, in this case, each one has a picture of where it goes. One has a fan picture and the other one of a light bulb. We want to go ahead and turn on the breaker so we can verify which chain is which. And in our case, the left one is the light. So we're gonna install the chain for that particular one on that side, and then the remaining one on the other. In your particular case, it might only need just one, or maybe neither. Maybe it's a remote control futuristic one that you probably talk to it and it answers. Well, I guess we're gonna have to remove this one and make another video. Now you've done it, Grasshopper. You've become the greatest of all time. You become the master of ceiling fans. You have retained your kingdom once again. And here at the StatUpBox team, we salute you because you're awesome. Don't forget, if you liked the video, please give us a thumbs up. That really helps. If you have any questions, place them in the comment section below. Either someone in the StatUpBox team or someone in the YouTube community can help you out with an answer. Don't forget to subscribe, follow us on social media. Thank you for watching, and here's the link to our latest video.